All right. Hi, Aylin. Hi, Ceylan. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Vonvo.com. The date is February 24th, and we're here to discuss the Middle East region as a whole. I just wanted to go over two quick things before we get started. The first is that right now this conversation is being recorded, and after the recording is complete, we'll be putting the conversation up on YouTube. Is that okay with both of you?
Sure, yeah.
All right, great. And then the second thing is here at Vonvo, we're all about our conversations being both civil and valuable, and we don't want there to be any personal attacks against anyone in case someone joins our conversation. Are you guys okay with those ground rules?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then let's get this discussion started. Just for everyone who's watching right now from around the world and who listens to this video later on, would you mind just giving our viewers a quick background of yourself, and what you guys are all about and why you're so passionate about this subject?
Of course. You start here. Okay. My name is Aylin Kocaman. I'm living in Istanbul, Turkey, from Istanbul University. I'm a commentator at A9 TV. I'm a political analyst, and I'm talking about the religious science and politics. Also, we are having our English program, Building Bridges. We are having guests to these programs, and we are having politicians, journalists, think tank CEOs,
religious leaders.
Yes, religious leaders, and we are having discussions with them and to talk about world peace and love. We are having them from different religions, from different nations, in order to create a great world, to bring peace into this world. Also, I'm writing for a national newspaper here regularly, and also for the international newspapers. I'm regularly writing for a Jewish newspaper, Moment magazine, and from time to time for Jerusalem Post. And also I'm writing for the Arab newspapers right now. I'm passionate about peace because I'm a Muslim, and according to my religion, I need to love a person in the world. I need to bring back love and peace to this world, and there are sections about Islam right now. I need to eradicate all these misconceptions and try to bring love and peace to this world. It's a command of my religion, so that's why we are working voluntarily for this aim.
And this is Ceylan Ozbudak. I'm also a commentator on A9 TV, and I'm also hosting the same program and the executive director of Building Bridges. Building Bridges is not only a TV program, we are also an entity in USA. This is an NGO. We are organizing new processes, new meetings this year, starting with United States and Egypt, and relations between Turkey. So I also have part in the daily live show, a Turkish live show, and I'm also a columnist in Turkish newspapers and international press.
Great. Thank you so much for that. So, basically, if we're going to discuss the Middle East, why don't we just tackle the overall, question facing the region, which would be, I guess both of you can answer individually as we start here. What's your overall assessment on the stability right now inside of the region compared to, let's say, years past when you've been covering, the Middle East? And I guess, if you want to answer as a whole, we'll go that route and then start tackling some individual countries after.
Sure. Of course, we cannot talk about any stability in the Middle East region right now, and it looks like we are not going to be able to talking about stability in the coming few years. But we can talk about stable countries individually. For example, Turkey. If you look at the economy of Turkey, if you look at the democracy, disapproving voices, we have a democracy which withstood 2 military coups, and we have been living quite as Muslim people in Turkey, we have been living quite freely in the region, and we cannot say we have democracy problems in Turkey. We cannot say, of course, Turkey is not perfect. It has to be corrected in many parts, but it's going better every day. If you look at the economy, Turkey had this industrial development in the late decades because, for example, after the dissolvement of Yugoslavia, Nissan, for example, had been exported. And Turkey took it under its own umbrella, and this also added to its own industrial power. So also with the starting of the Arab Spring, Turkey has become the industrial engine in the region. So this adds to its economy, and of course we also have a very young population, in which we can see more than 50% of the people are under 25, under the age of 25.
Really?
And women have their own rights in Turkey. You know, we had a woman prime minister, we have women in Turkish cabinet, and for example, right now, if you look at the statistics, I also wrote about this in Al Arabiya last week. If you look at the statistics, the girls they go through their higher education more than boys, so they are better educated. So these all add up to its position. Also, with the starting of the almost 6 years ago, the economical down in Greece, Turkey took over Greece's tourism part. This also added up to its economic situation. So I cannot complain about how we are in Turkey right now. Of course, we do have our own problems, but we cannot talk about stability in the region, but we can talk about stability in Turkey.
Right. So Aylin, what do you think is the main cause for why Ceylan says there's no stability right now in the region? Can you kind of inform us on why there at this instance is really no stability?
Of course. First of all, Max, we are Muslims, so we are evaluating, analyzing the things from a Muslim perspective. Right. And it needs to be done that way, because if we are talking about Middle East, we need to talk about religion. Sometimes people try to put aside the religion and on the economy or the superpowers or the agreements between the nations. These will not solve the problem in the Middle East. If we want to solve the problem, we need to talk about religion, because the problem in the Middle East is sourced from the misunderstandings of the religion. So we need to eradicate this problem first. So we need to talk about this religion, especially Islam. The problem in the Middle East is mainly radicalism, especially if we're talking about Israel and Palestine conflict. We need to talk about radicalism, because radicalism is giving a great harm to Israeli people, but also Palestinian people. They are also suffering from it. There is a great domination of the radicalism in the area, and those people are practicing this as a religion, but it's not Islam whatsoever. The problem of those people, they don't know, they are not aware of Quran. They don't know Quran. In their religion, it's forbidden for them to touch the Quran. During our programs, we're holding Quran in our hands and reading verses from it, and you have no idea how reaction we are getting. It's interesting. They try to forbid us to tell our religion, to read the verses. This is their religion. They don't know Quran. This is the problem. So they believe in the fabricated hadiths, the sayings of our prophets. Many of the hadiths are correct, they are authentic, but some of them are totally fabricated. They fabricated these hadiths, and they try to obey these hadiths. And in this kind of religion, there is always death everywhere. People sometimes see the acts of those radicals, but their mindset is so dark. they don't know the details of their mindset. We know the fabricated hadith, so we know them very well, their mindset very well. So let me give you an example. For example, in the Quran, in many of the verses, God says that Quran is enough for you. So to understand my religion, I don't need to look at any book. Quran is enough for me. This is a verse. But there is a hadith, a fabricated hadith, saying that if someone comes and says that Quran is enough for you, then kill him. This is a fabricated hadith. That means that if you say a verse, then you need to be killed. This is their religion. I wanted to give this example to understand their mindset. Dragging a Palestinian so-called spy by a motorbike is a part of it. There's always death in their religion. So it's given a great harm to the Israeli people, Palestinian people, and also throughout the Middle East. It gave a great harm. So we need to...
Go ahead, finish, I'm sorry.
No. So we need to eradicate this problem first. Yeah.
Right.
No, we need to focus on this. If we make the diagnosis first, we can make the treatment.
Right. So Ceylan, where did this problem originate from? Like, how far back are we talking about? Because I want to think that what you guys are referring to is probably what they say here in the States is it's just like the religion that terrorists believe in and stuff, and like that word is kind of used pretty mainstream these days, and it's kind of like pretty it's kind of hard to, people are kind of throwing that word back and forth. So can you kind of just give us a sense of where this form of religion has come from and what can be done to eradicate it?
What are we talking about?
Well, so what Aylin was referring to as this radical interpretation of Islam.
Yeah. It's it started more than 1,000 years ago. It started more than 1,000 years ago. If you look at some of the fabricated hadith, they come from more than 1,000 years ago.
Just after our prophet.
Yes, just after the passing of our prophet. Because of course, this has always been a conservative region, and this is always going to be a conservative region. I want to point out to one fact. I know that especially American people and many of the European people want to help solve this problem in the region, but they are looking at it as from a very cold secular perspective. I'm saying cold secular because, for example, in Turkey we also have secularism, but we also understand each other as believers. This is something different. But we don't practice our beliefs inside our mental practices. This is fine. But they want to look at the region and they want to do something in the region, but they want to do it through classical politics. What they forget is, right here in the region, classical politics do not work. Here, people are conservative.
And missiles are also
right.
Meaningless.
Yeah, can you?
This is meaningless. So people don't understand from these things.
Right. So.
Can I?
Yeah. Go ahead. Can you?
People don't understand from classical politics. For example.
Yeah. Exactly.
For example, the very foundation of Israel is religion. The foundation of Israel is religion. Many of the countries in the region, you can say the same thing. 99%, more than 99% of the people in Turkey are Muslims, and according to the latest polls, 83% of them self-proclaim as, and within that 83%, 39% self-claim as very religious, very devout. So you cannot go to these people and talk to them like religion do not exist in the world. Now, you cannot take religion out of the equation. You have to add religion inside the equation. You cannot reach those people without understanding their religion. I'm not saying American people should, but they should understand religion first. American politicians should understand why these people act like that. solve this problem, because without understanding that, no matter what they do, it will be useless. It will be like swimming in the sea without talking about water, ignoring water. Or it will be like you are practicing quantum physics without knowing any maths, without knowing how to solve an equation.
Right.
So it's going to be useless. They have to understand why these people act like that. So they have to understand how to help these people. And to help these people is going through educating these people. For example, more than 50% of the women in Egypt are illiterate. This means these women never read Quran. They don't know their religion. But they go to a scholar, and this so-called scholar tells them, according to their religion, they will be oppressed. They will sit house, they will not work, and they will breed children. And these people, these women, these illiterate women who never read the Quran before, they bring up children. And these children become politicians, doctors, intellectuals, with that mindset. So in order for us to help them, first we should teach them real Quran, so that they will practice their own religion and act accordingly. Because according to Quran, a Muslim should be first educated, very well educated, very clean, very open-minded, very peaceful, very modern, very up-to-date, and very civilized. And they should protect other people. So they don't know this. They think that being Muslim is Jewish people or not any non-Muslim. They think that being a Muslim means opposing anything that is non-Muslim. This is not what our religion is about. First, they should learn about this. You cannot force these people out of religion. It's not going to happen. This is going to force them more into extremism.
Right.
They should educate. They should start educating them.
So, what I was just going to ask next would be like, you're talking about, people within a certain religion having to educate one another. So how do you, you're not going to expect like Americans or, Jewish people or Christians to, try and educate, other Muslims about, their own religion. So how does that actually, take place within your own peoples? How does that actually happen within your own peoples?
No, this is very easy. This is very easy, and this can happen. We are expecting that, because I don't think America can drone strike its way out of this conflict. It's not going to happen. We have a book. It's called Quran, and it's a very easy read. It's very easy to understand. And you can educate these people according to that book.
Right.
This is very easy. They will only say, look, according to your book, this is what you should do, not this. And no one can oppose this, because this is Quran. This is the main scripture in the Muslim world.
No, I hear you. Okay, great. So,
they cannot say no in the world.
Very interesting. So, ultimately then going into specific, specific countries within the region, what's your take on, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? What immediate next steps, need to be taken in order to, ease the tension inside of, between those two peoples? Because we've had a lot of people on. Yesterday we had an amazing conversation between a pro-Israeli and a pro-Palestinian, and they talked about a lot of realistic solutions. So, I'd like to hear what you think needs to take place inside of that country first, between those two peoples.
God gave a great secret both in the Quran and Torah. Unity is the solution for the problem. Right now, it's of course a little bit difficult for us to reach the radicals directly. But what we should do, we need to be powerful. But in order to be powerful, there should be a great unity. What kind of unity does it be? First of all, the believers, according to Quran, the believers need to be united. There is a verse in the Quran, if the believers, all the believers, not just Muslims, but all the believers should unite, do not unite, then there will be turmoils and conflicts in the world. There is a verse in the, we understand that we need to be united. And also, there is also a passage in Torah, just a second, saying that how good and pleasant it is when brothers live in unity. God says Torah. So this is the secret here. According to Quran, we need to establish a great unity between the believers first, and also the people who are the supporters of love and peace in the region, no matter what their religion are. They can be Buddhist, they can be atheist, no matter what their religions are. We need to be united. What we can do, we need to use the social networks first, and this is important. The Jewish people need to contact with the rational Muslims who are devoted to Quran. They need to contact with them, and we need to use social networks and other sources in order to show them that we are united and we are talk together and we want peace together, we want love together. We need to do this because it's a secret in the Quran and Torah. And in national basis, Egypt, Israel, and Turkey should unite immediately. Now, it seems a little bit difficult with our current government right now because there are some harsh words toward Israeli government. So what should Israeli government do? They need to address directly to the Turkish people, not to the government right now, but to the Turkish people. The relationships were getting worse after the flotilla incident, first in Davos and then after the flotilla incident. So our government are expecting an apology, that. So they can, the Israeli government can apologize if it is necessary, then apologize from the Turkish people or the families of the 9 people who were killed in the flotilla. That will be a great step. But these 3 countries should unite. This should be happening immediately. Right now, there are good connections with our government, with Mohammed right now. So it's a great step to.
For example, right now, looking from outside, it looks like it's almost impossible for Egypt to cooperate with Turkey, but it's not. If you go to CFR website and listen to Dr. Dardari's...
Ceylan, what's the reason why it's almost impossible for them to cooperate? What's the direct reason?
No, it's not impossible. It's for many people, it looks like for now it is impossible for Turkey and Egypt to cooperate because what's going on inside Egypt. There are tear gases in Tahrir Square almost every night, right. And you cannot hear an open call to Turkish government for cooperation about this. But if you look at individual what Muslim Brotherhood has in their own, for example, if you go to CFR website and listen to what Dr. Dardar said about Turkey and how our historical bond still binds us. And one of my friends was there when he was making that speech. You can see that it is quite possible, and I can see it coming in the next days. So if you look at Egypt, this is an 88 million country, which is an immediate neighbor of Israel. This is going to be a good start because, even though Erdogan has some harsh words toward Israeli government, Turkish people love Israeli people, and this cannot be overruled.
Yeah, I can give you an example. I wrote it in my latest article as well. Mm-hmm. We had problems with Greece, for example, for years now. But we have great connections with the Greek people. We are related. We are living neighbors right now. In the nations are not getting worse with the Greek people. Turkish people are, in general, loyal people. They are lovely people. They don't care the politics in general. They don't care the politics. They love their neighbors. They are generally very compassionate people in general. So they love Israeli people already because they share a great history together. So we need to unification between the nations. If we can do this, then the politics will go that way.
Right.
Immediately. And what we should do for this, we need to request the abolishment of the visa requirements first within these three countries, even the passport requirements. We do it with many countries so far.
More than 72 countries with Turkey lifted the requirement of visas.
Can you explain
Georgia
what?
With our IDs.
Can you explain what is that? Is that basically restricting people's like free travel within the region? Is that the issue?
Yes.
And this means, for example, if you have visa between two countries, it means I don't trust your people. Yeah. I don't know who is going to come from there, so I have to be cautious. But when you say, okay, I do not require a visa from people coming from that country, it means I trust you can come to my country without me asking you any questions. This is a good step, this is a good step towards friendship.
Yeah. This will also increase the trade agreements. This will also increase tourism. It will increase all this. And these three countries will make the decisions together then that will be a very reliable, and that will be a great power. And we will discuss later in the Syria problem. It will also solve the Syria problem. The problems of the Middle East will be solved immediately. That will be a great power. Then there will be no worries, even whether the radicals are listening to us or not. They will listen to us eventually, because they are weak against power.
Right. I have a specific question that kind of popped into my head as you guys have been speaking. So, we've had some people on Vonvo who have, for example, in some of our Syria discussions, we've had some pro-Assad people, and, they really don't, care at all for, any sort of, they want people inside of Syria to figure out this conflict for themselves, and they, they don't want any sort of intervention at all. So, what's your take on the form of government that would be best fit for the different Middle Eastern countries? For example, is a Western-style democracy, the best fit, or that's not really the most ideal fit because of the role religion plays in the region?
If we are talking about Jeffersonian democracy, it's not going to work in the region. No. I don't think in the near future we are going to see any country in the region within the functioning within the rule of Jeffersonian democracy. Even though it's not perfect, the closest to perfect you can see, I think. What's happening?
I think someone else joined our discussion, but you can go ahead, and if there's any noise coming from it, you can just mute his camera. You could put your mouse over his face and mute his camera if there's any noise coming from him, and then we'll see if he had anything.
Yes. Okay, I did now.
Okay,
go ahead. All right, so the closest to that we can get in the region is Turkish democracy. Because within Turkish democracy, we can see religious people practicing their own religion, and we still have a. For example, in many European countries, people, women wearing hijab can go to universities, and they can work in governmental organizations. But in Turkey, they cannot. No, you cannot wear something like hijab or other covering and go to university. Actually, we have a much more strict secularism in Turkey. But the rule of our government allows also the religious people to be comfortable in their own zone. And, even though we have a right-wing government, and many people I know feared at first, many people in America, many people in Europe, right now they have very good relations with the minority within Turkey. This is the first government we had, and this is the first prime minister we had so far who restored the old churches and old synagogues in Turkey. The first one who ever met with the minorities on a monthly basis and asked them about their own opinion and what they want more. He is the first one we had so far who invited Greek people to live in Turkey so that they will be away from the problems in Greece. And they started moving in large numbers, according to what also the Greek Archbishop said last week, to Istanbul and Izmir. So, if you look at Turkish democracy, even though it's not perfect, I can see democracies becoming something similar to Turkish democracy in the near future.
You need to give a model as an Islamic country. You need to give them. They don't listen to the Western people right now. Then you need to show them that there is a country who is living according to Islam and also who is practicing democracy. They
Right.
need to know that there is democracy in Islam. So Turkey is a great model for them for now. It's of course this is not a perfect country,
No,
but
it's not. Yeah.
it's just a great model for them for now.
Great. Great. That's awesome. Okay. Thank you for answering that. So, my next question would be is, the role of the Muslim Brotherhood inside of the Middle East region. Ultimately, you hear people come on Vonvo and they talk about the Muslim Brotherhood inside of Egypt and the role they're playing over there. And, you just mentioned before that they're, shooting off tear gas almost every night. The next thing I was going to bring up is, then there's talk about, the Muslim Brotherhood taking over inside of Syria. What's your take on that government political party and their role in the region?
We cannot say Muslim Brotherhood is shooting off tear gas in Tahrir Square every night because also in Turkey people do this mistake. They have this mistake. Not everything that is done on, for example, in the police department or everything a military does is going through that government. For example, I hear many people talking about freedom of press in Turkey, but this is something about judiciary, and judiciary is 100% free in Turkey. They don't listen to government or they don't listen to military, so they have their own decisions. So neither Erdogan nor any military personnel can tell or what not to do. This is the same in Muslim Brotherhood. They did go through some kind of a stage in which they harbored more extremist elements, but right now they are learning to be politicians and they are learning politics. And yes, in Syria we can see the elements of the Brotherhood. Of course, we can see members of Brotherhood, for example, in Syrian National Council. And I think if we're going to talk about the members in the Syrian National Council, Muslim Brotherhood members, I think they are more close to liberal side than the other side. So to be a better influence within Syria for now, for what I see now. And if we are going to talk about the extremist elements within Syria, another issue. I don't think that has anything to do with Muslim Brotherhood.
Right, Aylin, what's your take on that? On the Muslim Brotherhood? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they are reforming right now. They may have some radical background in the past, but they say that they are reforming, so we have expectations from them. This is, as Ceylan said, this is the only alternative for Egypt right now. And to look at the Arab Spring, the background, the Arab Spring, people think that in general it was a conflict between the schools of Islam, but it was not actually. It was the problem of Marxism. If we talk about the Arab Spring here, we need to talk about Marxism as well, because after the World War II, these Arab countries in the Middle East were under the influence of the Russian communism, and they mixed it with the Arab nationalism, and it was very dangerous because it turned out to be a racism. And it's called Arab socialism, but socialism is a weird word in general. It's being used as a milder version of communism, but in fact it's Marxism. And we know that Marxism, what did Marxism do in the past during the World War II? We know the acts of the Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Pol Pot. We know all that, and it's happening right now in the Arab world. The wild side of the Marxism is being
practiced.
Yes, it's being practiced right now. So it's the problem of Marxism. So from other alternatives, we need to try Muslim Brotherhood for Egypt right now and hope that they will make some reforms within themselves. If they are right, that's good. But as I said, the the union of three countries will change the perspective of the Egypt completely, because Egypt will turn to democracy day by day. If this union will happen, then it will be a great step, and they will also become the ally of the Israel as well, because after mercy, the relationships are going a little bit worse between Israel and Egypt.
And the truth is, it doesn't look like we have another choice in Egypt rather than Muslim Brotherhood. Not just because they were, publicly an elected government. First, we need to be respectful with them, because people elected them. There has been no democratic elections, and people elected them as the government. They're the legitimate government right now. And second, the next alternative is not the liberals. Next alternative is the Salafis, which got 20% of the votes without any, mini try before the elections. So Muslim Brotherhood fails badly in Egypt. The next step is not going to be liberals. The next step is not going to be left. The next step is going to be Salafis, who openly say our model is Saudi Arabia, and we don't want women to work, we don't want women to drive, we don't want women to be in politics or anywhere in public life.
Right.
So, in order for us to help things work in Egypt, we need to help Muslim Brotherhood reform, and we need to show them how to change themselves. And they are open to persuasion. They openly declare that. They say we don't know.
Yeah.
We are learning to be free. So help us.
Right.
Rather than just criticizing us, help us, show us what we need to do.
Right.
And I think this is a sincere approach from them.
Yeah. So.
Am I a fan of Muslim Brotherhood? No, of course not.
Right. So, Stephen, do you hear us clearly? And
yeah. Mostly.
Great. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask them?
Well, question / statement. Hello.
Hello, Stephen. How are you?
Okay, waking up. I have been
Great.
researching the Muslim Brotherhood quite a bit, because it came to my attention that in the U.S., in a terrorist financing case, some documents were recovered about their plan for the Brotherhood in the U.S., and it stated very clearly that their goal was to sabotage their miserable house by their own hands, meaning our system of government, using our laws and our freedoms against us. And there have been many public statements, which I was fortunate enough to have someone who's better at Arabic translate, saying that clearly Morsi and others in the leadership of the Egyptian Brotherhood, that the United States and Israel are enemies, and that they in fact do desire a worldwide caliphate. And the only reason that jihad is not violent at the moment is because they're not strong enough to do so. So I'm simply going by what they have said about themselves in their own statements about themselves. So I have kind of a hard time thinking of them as something good for Egypt or for anywhere else.
Okay,
now, it's true they were elected.
What is the next best option? And thinking they made these statements in the past, if these are true, I don't know if they are true, but I'm thinking they are true. So they made these statements in the past, because we have seen a more vulgar statements from Morsi himself on video towards Jewish people, which we didn't appreciate. And I think he should have apologized rather than saying my statements were taken out of context. This is true. So what do you think is the next step? What do you think can be the next best option? Because there are two options for Egypt right now. Go through elections again, if Muslim Brotherhood is not elected again, the next option is the Salafis, or another military coup, which may also last for another 4 decades. Which one of the two people? What is the mechanism in your mind that can work for Egypt?
If I was an Egyptian, I would say neither, but I'm not. So I don't know exactly how fair the elections were, because
I think they do too.
I hear many people say it's not, but I don't not being there and not knowing exactly what went on, I can't say. But I think people in general.
Do you know why they were fair?
Well, so Ceylan
in general.
Oh, go ahead, Aylin. Go ahead, Aylin.
Max and Stephen, in general, we are in favor of educating people.
Yes.
In general, I know sometimes Stephen reacting my view about that, but in general, we think that we can educate radicals. This is our main aim. We can educate the Muslim Brotherhood as well. That's why I'm talking about this unity all the time. We are always talking about this unity during our live shows as well, because it is necessary in the region. If that will happen, then Muslim Brotherhood or Mohammed Morsi himself says that I want change. These are my past statements, so I'm not thinking the same way. So it's good to believe that right now, and it's a way that we want to educate him. So Turkey is so suitable country to educate him. I know some people.
They listen to Prime Minister Erdogan. He's a fluent Arabic speaker and he has a fundamentalist background, and he understands. Yeah, he's an imam. He's a trained imam, and many of my Egyptian friends told me even Morsi cannot read Quran as good as Erdogan can. So these things are getting them closer to East, helping. And pragmatically speaking, Stephen, if I were a luncheon and if I was asked whether or not I want Muslim Brotherhood to rule me, I would say no. But I would have asked, what is my next one? What are my options? If my options are another military coup, or another Salafi government, or Muslim Brotherhood, I would choose Muslim Brotherhood. No, they are not going to evaporate. They are not going anywhere right now. They are there, and they have very big networks within the Egyptian people. If you look at, for example, we say in the latest referendum only 63% turnout they got. 63% for Egypt is perfect. Do you know why? Because 50% of these people cannot read yes or no, and 63% voted in a referendum. Just compare this. We cannot say elections are rigged, so we have to accept it and we have to move on. So we have this in our hands. We have Muslim Brotherhood. Now the next step is, what can we do with this? So we have to figure out what we can do with that. We can alienate them and leave them alone, leave them beside and let them do their own thing, or we can be with them. We can elevate them. We can teach them how they can be more democratic and also secure their own reliefs and secure people's freedom. We can do this. We have two options right now, and for me, I think the wise option is to educate them. How do you think about this?
We are not telling all this because, as Ceylan said, because we are great supporter of Morsi, supporter of Erdogan. Yeah. But people think that Erdogan is an Islamist. Some people think that way. He is not actually. People need to know that this, especially I know that Israeli people are saying this, but he's not. He's trying to rule this country in a different way right now.
And it works for now.
Yes, he has so many mistakes, I know that, but it works for now. And there is still democracy in Turkey. Nothing has changed since Atatürk. Everything become more
better.
Better right now. So people need to understand that if they were living in Turkey, then they would understand it better. It's better right now. We know this because we know the past government.
Yes.
We
know what we had before.
Yes.
Before.
Yeah.
We had left-wing governments. We had, other, for example, center-left, center-right, other governments. This had been the best we had so far. So we're not complaining for now. But of course, we have other companies invest more in art. They can invest more in education. They can invest more in, opinion. They don't. But in balance, they're doing good for now.
And we don't agree the harsh statements towards Israeli people, Israeli government. course, we are always criticizing him for that during our programs. Of course, they have some wrong practices, attitudes. But for now, it's not. It's good, and there is democracy in Turkey. So this kind of thing will solve all the problems with the Muslim Brotherhood too. We are hoping that, and we are trying to educating them, because we need to do this. Because, as I said, the problems in the Middle East can be solved through understanding of Quran. So we are the students of Quran. We know Quran very well and practicing Quran perfectly, as much as we can. And that's what we need to teach people, right? In order to do this, this kind of unity should be done, and this kind of unity will bring a great power to Middle East. The Middle East needs unification. We are separated right now. That's why we are weak. We are majority. The people who want peace are majority, but since we are separated, yes, we are weak. We are powerless. We are silent right now. We need to come together. We need to do this. It's a sign, as I said, in the Quran and Torah. We need to do this. That's what God wants.
So, what's your go ahead, Stephen? Do you have another question you wanted to ask, Aylin or Ceylan?
Excuse me. Well, yes, very briefly. I just want to say, first of all, I admire your courage and your dedication and your commitment to peace. But from my perspective, when I think about educating people who cut off people's heads and videotape it, unarmed civilians, and fly planes into buildings, I remember finding that one of the people on 9/11 was a 5-year-old child traveling with his mother, and who killed people for smoking tobacco or drinking alcohol. I would think people who had descended to that level of life and action would be without a conscience and incapable of being instructed. I just have a very hard time thinking that.
So what is your mechanism? So what is your mechanism that can work for Middle East? Do you think, can you say you come up with another plan which is better? Because we can't, we don't know better. Can you say this can work better for Middle East? What is your opinion?
Well, I'm probably prejudiced, having grown up in the U.S., but I think people have a general desire to be free, to be able to express themselves how they wish. I'm a big believer in our Declaration of Independence, that people have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think deep down most people want that, but I can't go into each country in the Middle East and try and impose that. I'm just saying.
No, we want that too. We want anything for each and every country in the Middle East. We want them to be as free as we are right now. We want them to be able to criticize their own government like we can right now. But what is your mechanism? What is your opinion? That what is your solution for Middle East? If you think this is not going to work.
Well, one thing I was remembering was during the Cold War, when communism fell in the Soviet Union, the United States, of course, had a much better president, but sent large numbers of people to help the people learn how to form political parties and how to campaign and how to inform and educate themselves so that they could make their own decisions about what type of government they wanted to have. And in most cases, it worked out pretty well. Sure. But in this case, we did nothing. And then I remember in Egypt seeing a sign from a demonstrator saying, Barack Obama, you failed us, the people who were for democracy, because he was supporting the Muslim Brotherhood rather than the people who wanted freedom. However, it seemed to be very unorganized, so that's not his fault.
So you also think education can work in these places?
Well, I think educating people who want to be educated can work, but I would be concerned.
Of course. And there's majority. And majority can win over the minority.
So Ceylan and Aylin, how do you reach the those people that Stephen is talking about who don't want to be educated? How do you who gets in touch with those people?
They are minority.
How do you get in touch with
They are minority. No, you don't reach everyone. You try to, but if you cannot, they are the minority. If you educate the majority, for example, there are 300 million Arabs, not 300 million Muslims, 300 million Arabs in the Middle East. If you can change the minds of the majority, the minority will have to work with them. They will be powerless, so they won't have a choice. We're talking about biggest right now, so you don't. Of course, that's why we have prisons in every country. Some people, cannot be rehabilitated. So you have to take them out of the public, and you have to, and who are harming people. Of course, I'm not saying people who cut the heads of other people, murderers, to remain calmly in the society and talk to them like we are talking to normal people. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about general. We are talking about general people. In majority, people can be educated. They do want what Stephen you say. They do want to be free. They don't want other people intervening in what they do in their own lives. Because if you, for example, force a person to say they believe in Islam, first, he will hate Islam because he is forced to say so. Second, he will never believe it and he will be a hypocrite. And the hypocrite is the most dangerous creature in the world.
The worst thing.
The worst. So we don't want that. I think this is the best thing Atatürk did for Turkey. People don't force each other to say or to claim if they are Muslims or not, or if they practice religion or not. So they do. They don't. No one cares.
This is a verse in the Quran. There is no compulsion in religion. So you don't force anyone to believe my religion or by my belief, or you don't force anyone to worship. You cannot do this. It's forbidden according to Quran. But those people, as Ceylan said, they are an effect of radicals right now. We need to understand this, Max. Radicals are ignorant people, but you cannot imagine. They don't know Quran, yes, but they don't know the outer world as either. They are stuck in ghettos and have no idea what's happening in Islamic world.
And most of them are illiterate.
Yeah, so most of them are illiterate. So they are under the effect of the radicals because they know that this is the only religion they know. They were raised like that.
Yeah.
So the problem is ignorance here. So if we can reach to them, not the minority, but the majority who are the effect of those radicals. Because if we can reach, and we can reach them with power, as I said, we need to do this together. This is why togetherness is very important. If we reach them, then they will change their minds and they will understand that there is democracy in Quran. There are women's rights in Quran. Quran gave a great value to the women.
They can be administrators.
Administrators
can take part in every part of life.
It's in the Quran, but they don't know. If we can give them the education, it's easy then. They
will find out themselves in time.
Yeah, the minority will have no power, and the mainstream media will not give the attention anymore.
Right. So I see someone posted in the text chat a question regarding the separation of church and state, which is like a phrase used here in America very often. Do you think that is something, amongst all these different governments that are kind of trying to, figure themselves out? Syria, Egypt, you can even include Israel, Turkey. Do you think a major separation between church and state is something that is necessary to have, well-functioning countries in the region?
Yes. This is what we have in Turkey, and this is why it works. Even though we have a right-wing government which is ruled by two imams, both Abdullah Gül and Erdogan are imams, they are Muslims, but they are not. They are not ruling the government according to rules of Islam. So this is what we have here,
and in spite of this, the Turkish people are religious people. That does not affect their religion. They are getting more religious. But what kind of religious? Quranic. They depend on Quran.
Not bigotry, yes.
Yes, this is not bigotry. There is no
religious people like us, for example.
Yes, of course there are minor minorities here in here. Of course there are, but in general, it's a very religious country. As you can see in Iran, for example, there is a great compulsion on people, and people getting more irreligious right now. That's because of they are not practicing the Sharia or practicing the Sharia of the bigotry.
Right. And so you brought up Iran. I mean, what's your take on how that country is impacting the region? You know, with either, I don't know, actions. They seem to have a they seem to have an impact on the entire region with a lot of their rhetoric and whatnot. So where do you think they stand? What do you think needs to change or continue to stay the same with that country and its impact on the region?
Iran's rhetoric doesn't apply to the whole region. It doesn't. It has a different rhetoric of its own. They believe in a ghost Mehdi, which they claim to be seeing everywhere as a light. For example, they say, I have seen Mehdi right now in front of me, and he told me to do this. And this is very dangerous. And this doesn't apply to the whole region. They need to change this in order to become and perceive a reasonable country. Without this happening, even we cannot perceive Iran as a reasonable country. But with the events in Syria, if the things change in Syria, if Assad goes or when Assad goes, is it going to change anything about Iran? Is Iran going to be weaker? No. No. Iran has been alone in the region many times before in the history, so it's not going to affect Iran that much. And there's another thing about Iran. Iran has never been, and war or every conflict Iran has been into was defensive. Iran has never been offensive in its history once, and I don't expect it to be offensive again. For example, if any military intervention happens in Syria, I don't think Iran will openly declare a country, but they will openly support Assad with military personnel and arms, for example. But they have never been a offensive country. What they need to change is their belief system and their claim of their belief system, secondly, because they claim to be Muslims, but they are not Muslims. They are Marxists. It's a Marxist state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also there's a fatwa, it's been given by Khamenei, that they cannot attack any of the country with nuclear weapons. It's a good thing because they cannot do otherwise. Mm-hmm. They need to obey the fatwa. But of course, as Ceylan said, the ghost Mehdi is a very dangerous concept for Iran. People barely know this. Actually, the Mehdi is valid in Islam and also Judaism, expecting him to come at the last days of the world. So, they are expecting a ghost Mehdi. They are not expecting. They claim that they see ghost Mehdi.
They're in contact with the
yes,
ghost.
This is, of course, it's not happening, but they are claiming that way. So it's dangerous because the authorities, the government, can claim that from time to time. And someday, any of them can come and say that I saw the Mehdi last night and he gave me the order to attack this country, most probably it would be Israel, and use this nuclear weapon, and people would believe this is the danger of Iranian mindset. Ghost Mehdi concept is very dangerous. They can claim such a thing. No one wants him to show proof.
Yeah, because if you say cannot see anyone telling you to attack anyone, he will say then you're not religious enough so that you cannot see. So that person cannot claim not seeing him. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is a very dangerous belief.
I understand what you're
This
saying.
is very dangerous. But
Yeah. Well, so one thing that someone inside the text chat just posed was, Iran and the funding that it provides to different organizations like Hezbollah or Hamas. I mean, do you think that that funding is only doing harm to the region? And then what about, let's say, pro-Palestinians who will say, America's funding to Israel is causing harm to Palestinians? What's your take on the impact of outside funds coming into like those specific countries and impacting how that conflict continues to draw out?
outside funds always coming. It's true. It's coming to Hezbollah. It's also true because radicals always supporting each other. It's happening.
But it's about ideologies.
It's mentality.
Yeah, people don't understand it. Even though they had no money, they would still be doing this. This is about ideology, just like in Marxism. They give their lives to an ideology, live in an ideology, and they are ready to kill and be killed for that ideology. So this ideology has to be abolished. Yeah, I mean, for example, in Turkey we have PKK problem, and these people are also Stalinist Marxist, and they say we want to create.
I'm sorry, they use Kurdish nationality, but it's nothing to do.
It has nothing to do with it. Yeah.
With it, yes.
So they say we want to create. Their idea is to create a new communist Kurdish nation in Middle East, using some part of the Turkey. So this is very dangerous, and they are ready to give their lives, and they are ready to take lives for this ideology. People here in the region, they don't care about money that much, because they don't have that quality, that understanding of quality in their lives. Mm-hmm. They don't care if they can be fed, if they have a shelter on their heads, it's not for them. If they can breathe, it's not for them. If that person has an ideology,
they don't welcome. They find some bombs and take it on herself or himself, go to the crowd and blow himself up. Yeah. This is their jihad. It's not about Quran. It's not in the Quran, but they practice it, so they don't need it either.
So in order for us to dry the swamp, we cannot do this with depriving these people of money. For example, we cannot say, just like you said, for example, you gave the example of America supporting Israel. Of course, America will support Israel. Or it will be Israeli children or elderly people who will be suffering in Israel. They're not also in Israel. I know Israel, and I know how they live there. They're not living in very wealthy conditions. And I wouldn't want them to suffer, I wouldn't want innocent people there to suffer. I, of course, also don't want war to be supported. But sometimes I understand that countries need to protect themselves. This is another issue. But we have to underline the ideology in the region, and we have to tackle the ideology in the region. Other than that, no matter how much money we spend in the region, it's not going to be solved. And this is much easier. It's going to take less time, and it is less expensive than what we are doing all right now.
Right. No, I hear you. And so thank you for addressing that.
So it's
important
7:36 here.
Yeah. So guys, why don't I think this is an amazing discussion. Thank you so much for participating. And I guess I would just leave you with.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you for having this discussion with us. I think the viewers thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll definitely be in touch soon. And thank you for your help.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.